Hello and welcome to another review. In this video we're going to be looking at the Roccat ARVO gaming keyboard here. Now there's quite a few differences that set this keyboard out amongst the other keyboards on the market. Mainly when you see it you're going to notice it's a lot smaller than a standard keyboard. And we'll come to why that is a little bit later on. You've also got macro keys on there by your thumb, so you can use them quite easily with your thumb. So instead of using the space bar you can press your macro keys. There's illuminated keys as well, illuminated status keys. Anti-ghosting, which is really cool, which we'll get into a little bit later on as well. And you've also got macro managing, so you can set up macros for the keyboard. There's different modes you can have the keyboard set onto. There's key deactivation. There's a whole host of things which this keyboard does, and it does it really, really well, and it's really cool. So, without further ado, as I'm quite excited, let's just open it up and have a little look at it. And here it is. Now, as you can see, it is a lot smaller than a standard keyboard. Now, the way that they've done this is they've actually integrated the directional arrow keys into the number pad here as well. So usually the keyboard will come out to probably about this length here, giving it a good few extra inches. But instead, they've managed to condense it down. Now, how are you supposed to use the directional arrow keys if you're using the number pad? Well, in the top corner of the keyboard, you can see this little button here which says mode. Now what you do is you simply press that button and then the arrow keys illuminate on the keyboard. Press it again and then the arrow keys turn off on the keyboard. When the arrow keys are illuminated, it means that they're active. When they're not illuminated, it means that you're using the number pad. Also, as you can see, they've integrated the delete, insert, home, page up, page down, and into here as well. So when these keys are active, that's when these are set as delete and all that stuff. And again, when it's off, it's just the standard number pad layout. Now, it does work quite well. If you never really need to use the number pad, then it's really good. But if you're used to using a keyboard with a number pad as standard, and then you're going to put in, I don't know if you've got passwords which use numbers in and things, it can get quite frustrating sometimes, just because you're going, oh, okay, password, numbers, oh, I'm using directional arrow keys, or I've just pressed delete or insert or something like that. So it can get a little frustrating. It does need to get used to it, as opposed to just get down and get into grips with it straight away. But it is a nice feature they've put, and especially if you are going to LANs where you haven't got a huge amount of desk space available. So if this was my LAN table, for example, then I've still got a decent amount of mouse pad space, whereas if this was a full-size keyboard and it came out to there, it would reduce my desk space. So in that respect, it is a very good keyboard. Now, it has got an anti-ghosting feature on there as well, which simply means you can press multiple keys at the same time and all of that information will go through to the PC, as opposed to standard PS2 keyboards where as soon as you press 3 keys or something like that, then it just kind of goes crazy and then none of that information gets sent through to the PC. With this, you can press a whole bunch of keys, so like forward and left for strafing, you can jump, crouch in the air, and all of these controls are going to be going through to the PC, which is really, really good. You've also got a nice height keys. They're medium height keys, so they're not really, really low down like on a lot of keyboards out there, or even like laptops and things. And they're not like the old style keyboards, or like on the G11 and the G15 keyboards by Logitech, where they're full-size keys. And they do feel quite nice in your fingers. So they do. It's one of those keyboards where the keys literally jump back up into your finger. So it's not just you're pushing it down and you're waiting for it to come back up. It's got a really responsive feel underneath there, which is very, very nice to play with. Then you've got on the front here, just underneath the space bar, which I said about earlier, those 3 keys there. Now those are 3 macro keys and they are fully programmable using the software which comes with the keyboard itself. So we've got all the manuals and all the software in there. Now using the driver, you can set up macros really easily. So you can have, I set it up just to control my media, so I've got play, pause, previous track and next track. So when I'm playing a game and listening to music, if something comes up I don't want to do, instead of just take my thumb off the space bar and just whack one of these buttons quick. Again, it's one of those things which you've kind of got to get used to, but it's, as soon as you're kind of used to it and you've set up your macros, it's really quite cool. There's also a number of different modes which you can have set up. So you can have media player set up as one. When you're playing COD, you can have it throwing grenades, or if you're playing WoW, you can have it set up to do specific spells and stuff. So there's a whole host of things you can do with that. But yeah, it's I really quite like it. I think it's let's head over onto the sofa summary. So here we are on the sofa with the Arvo. Now, I do really like this keyboard. I think it's fantastic because it's a bit smaller, so it does give you more room on your desk. And I love the little macro buttons here. They are really easy to use, and the fact that there's little lighty up bits and stuff. I think it's really, really, really good. But at the same time as well, personally, I end up using the number pad quite a bit when I'm using my PC, and because I've got to constantly swap it around, it can get a bit frustrating sometimes. So in regards to what I'm going to give it out of 10, if you're a hardcore gamer and you go to LANs a lot and where desk space is important, I'll give it an 8, just because it is smaller, it's compact, it's got everything that a normal keyboard does, but just in a smaller package. So an 8 out of 10. But for casual gaming and general use, I'm going to have to give it a 6, just because it's not having the full use of the number pad straight away is quite frustrating, and for the sake of having a couple of extra inches on your desk, it's there's not really any comparison between the two. Roccat have recently released the new ISKU keyboard, which I'd like to have a little look at to see between the two where the differences lie, because they have got that Roccat Talk technology with it. But yeah, with general use, I'm going to have to give this one a 6, but for landing and things, because it does give you that extra desk space, which if you've got low sensitivity you need, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Well, thank you for watching. My name's Chris, and I'll see you in the next one.